Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I have one good 4th of July video for you today. Strap in, we're going to make this really interesting, okay? Might be a little long, I'm going to try to do it as quick as possible. The first thing I wanted to show you, U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell was scheduled to meet with Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong on May 11th, according to an entry in the central bank's calendar. I decided to go look at the calendar. Meeting with Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, and Paul Ryan, former Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. I looked everywhere to see if I could find anything where Paul Ryan has much to do with crypto. The only thing I found about him that was interesting is that he's on the board of directors at Fox News, okay? So, I also saw an article that mentioned how he was not a fan of our past president, you know who, believe it or not. I don't even say his name on here much because YouTube tends to not like that word, just like they don't like the word about the current events, the thing that happened over the last couple of years. So there's certain things that I just don't say on this channel. Okay, but what I wanted to show you is this Brian Armstrong. I thought this was an interesting pair for them to be, for the Federal Reserve Chairman to be meeting with. But what's interesting is if you look who they met with before this, okay? Go up here, BIS Global Economic Virtual Meeting. He was meeting with Christine Lagarde, Governor of the Bank of England, the Director of Monetary and Capital Markets at the IMF, and all these could just be coincidences, folks. But I think that was the main ones that I wanted to show you. But look who he's meeting with. Right after his meeting with Brian Armstrong, we go down and there's Chris Giancarlo of the Digital Dollar Project. We keep going down and he meets with Chris Giancarlo again from the Digital Dollar Project. And then right after he meets with them, he meets with the BIS All Governors Virtual Meeting. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Okay, now Mr. Intuitive, who is the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, makes a very good point here. Interesting how Binance took Brian Brooks in at Binance US right before the storm. And the storm he's referring to is all of a sudden we saw out of the Cayman Islands and I believe Canada where they're trying to say that Binance can't do business there. I think that's the way I read it. And it's not affecting Binance US because remember, Binance US is a completely separate company from Binance.com that operates in different parts of the world. But it is interesting that Brian Brooks comes on at Binance US right before this all starts happening. Now, and this is one of the articles that we were referencing, crypto exchange Binance is facing increasing attention from regulators with Thailand and Cayman Islands becoming the latest to weigh in on its dealings. And I was tweeting this out because this guy, Tiger Mike, had sent me a message and told me this was one of the things he was nervous about the flare drop. I've talked about all the tax angles of the flare drop, and they've decided to go forward and do it the way they were going to do it, and that's fine. We now all are educated that the ordinary income will be an issue that you need to talk to your accountant about, and that's okay, fine. So, but there is this other thing that he brought up. Another reason for doing Flare Network's drop 100% up front, and I was crediting him, a lot of these exchanges around the world appear to be getting squeezed by regulators. What if some are squeezed to the point where you can't access these platforms in the future in your country? So, for example, many of you out there, you may have, to get your snapshot, when they did the snapshot of the flare drop, you may have been on Uphold, or you may have been on Coinbase, or Binance.com, or any number of exchanges that participated around the world. Well, what happens if, since they're going to do it the way they originally announced, where they give you 15% in the first drop and then the next drops go over the next year or 2 years, okay? Every month, okay? Well, if that happens and your snapshot was taken at Binance, let's say that you're I'm just using this as an example. Let's say that you are in the Cayman Islands and your snapshot was on Binance.com when you could access it. Then the Cayman Islands says, well, you can't do this anymore. And Binance comes out and says, we can no longer support customers in the Cayman Islands. Well, what happens to this is an issue. What happens to the flare that was snapshotted for you? Is there a solution there? Who knows? But that's part of the reason. Everybody wins if you drop it all one time. Drop it all. Okay, everybody wins. Now, apparently they're not going to do that. So this is more or less, I'm pretty confident that history on this will prove that these concerns were completely legitimate concerns. But these are just my concerns, my opinions, and that's fine. I'm no accountant. But it says basically in this article that they're going to go forward, but it does say, and you should know this, that they were going to do it different, and then they decided to go back to the original. But they do say that Flare says anyone concerned about tax obligations can opt out of the 3% monthly distributions. So I don't know how we opt out of this, but anybody that knows how to opt out of the 3%, it's something that I at least want to know how to do. I'm going to watch this thing and watch how it unfolds, and then I'll decide. Now, I'm giving you a 4th of July gift because BitBoy, okay, BitBoy's a Bitcoin guy, obviously. I met him when I was in Miami at the Miami Bitcoin conference. He's a very nice guy, very personable guy. Took a picture with him. I don't think I've ever shown that picture. But this guy has, I think, pretty much the largest YouTube channel in all of crypto. And he's not a pro XRP person. I've got 3 or 4 clips. I'm going to play every one of them because you need to hear every single word of what he says. I'm about to make your 4th of July. Listen here.
What's going on behind the scenes is you have the SEC lawsuit where the SEC is alleging that Ripple Labs, specifically Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, which Jed McCaleb left out of it, even though he was there for all of it, which, still got to wonder, maybe he's a whistleblower and all this stuff. I don't know.
You have to wonder.
But where they made a fortune off of an unregistered security sale, a security sale that, basically promised people a return on investment. Ripple saying, no, we didn't actually do it like that. These laws weren't even made at that point. There was no regulation. How can this be the case? Yada, yada, yada. What the interesting thing that's happened is that the judge in the case seems to be like heavily against the SEC and actually for Ripple Labs. What I'm being told, and what's very obvious from the outside, is this not going well for the SEC. It looked like the SEC was totally going to lose the case. What I'm being told is that right now the SEC is kind of having to punt. That's why they just had an order. I get confused on a little the legal terms here because I'm not a lawyer or a judge. I do judge a lot of people though. But an order to where it extended the case out probably all the way to October before they actually have to come and reconvene and give a ruling. During that time, what the SEC is actually doing is trying to figure out how they're going to give a slap on the wrist to XRP to keep the SEC from getting totally embarrassed and losing the case. They're going to basically offer Ripple.
Oh, they're already getting embarrassed.
Such a sweet deal that's going to be nothing to them that they're just going to accept it for it to be over. So that's kind of going on in the background. That's what I'm hearing is going to happen. And then I've got some sources that are telling me some things. But, also, if you just look at the large context of what's been happening, it's very obvious SEC is losing. Something I never dreamed was possible at the beginning of this case. I said this could lead to the death sentence for Ripple, basically. That is not proven to be true. I was wrong in the beginning.
Yes, you were, because you Bitcoin maxis are late to the game. Here's another clip.
If you look at Santander and you look at who owns Santander and a lot going on behind the scenes, what I'm being told is that these banks are going to start using it. Santander is going to strong arm a lot of places. And yes, I understand at face value exactly what you're saying. Like, why can any bank just not create this, sell some software, make their own token? It's all about.
By the way, I love the look on these guys' faces. They're like, well, but wait a minute. I thought Bitcoin was going to take over the world and we were going to get rid of all the banks and the central bankers. They're like totally shocked.
Actions, relationships, and people. And when it comes to Ripple, if this has not been very clear yet, they have major connections. What could
you think? We've been talking about it for 3 years. Where have you guys been?
Bigger play be here? Well, the bigger play would be all of the companies that are invested into Ripple itself will see that Ripple will be able to do this IPO. And if you look at how much money was made from the Coinbase IPO and the waves that it shook across the entire market when it happened, led to Bitcoin's all-time high, you got to think that if Ripple gets through this with a slap on the wrist, goes public, there's a lot of people that have a lot of, whether you call it, a piece of the pie or, hooks into Ripple, whatever it is, there are a lot of people that, will benefit and create, make a lot of money if they do go public. And I think there might be some stuff going on behind the scenes that's pushing this the way it's going to go, because nothing in this is logical.
You're damn right about that. Nothing in this is logical. I'm going to show you some things that are not logical here in a second, because the theme of what he's saying is none of this makes any sense. And that's what we've been talking about for a long time. None of this makes any sense. I've been putting out videos about Ethereum, not because I want to bash Ethereum, because I want to illustrate the absurdity and how none of this makes any sense. And that tells me, and I've told you 1,000 times, this is not about protecting investors. It's one of two things. Either you're talking about something that stinks to high heaven of people that have objectives that are political motives instead of what the SEC's job is, which is to protect investors, or you're watching a movie, All the World's a Stage. It's one of those two. It's not protecting investors. Do you feel protected? I don't. Listen up to this.
Ripple has fought them to the nail and is winning. We've never seen this before in the SEC. And so you got to wonder, what's going on here? Why are they winning? I'd say it's the people behind the scenes. And, I don't have names for you, or at least ones I want to divulge, but, there's big money behind this. And I'm being told that the adoption of the XRP token to be money transferring for banks is around the corner after this is over. And that's not from the XRP army. I want to point that out, because everybody would say, yeah, people have been saying that for years, right? They say it. These sources that are coming to me from different places across the world that are high-level connected individuals, these are not XRP army people. This is not Bearable Bear or Bullable Bear, whatever his name is, saying
He's
XRP
taking a shot at somebody.
These are real connected people in high positions that are giving me this information.
Give us the bull case. By the end of the year, obviously
This is the fun part. Watch the shock and awe on the faces of these poor, uninformed Bitcoin maxis.
The future, but what is the bull case for XRP if everything goes their way?
Yeah, bull case for XRP would basically be it's 64 cents today, by the way, just looked it up. If by October, before October, okay, this needs to actually be sometime in September, they come to an agreement with the SEC, they get the slap on the wrist, they pay the fine, but the case is done. It's kind of like with Tether, right? We had the Tether FUD forever, and then they settled the case, and everybody's like, well, we can keep making up FUD, but it's not going to matter. New York already said, whatever, it's fine. Pay your fine and move on. And so we saw it with EOS as well. If that happens for XRP, and the case specifically against Ripple Labs, all that gets cleared away. Suddenly that price suppression that has been going on since, I believe, November or December, early December, I think it was when it broke, somewhere around there. The price suppression that's kept XRP from reaching an all-time high will be totally gone. And then like a rubber band, everybody will be able to trade it and it'll pop right back up. The most bullish case for the end of the year, I think it's going to sound crazy. Are you ready for me to sound crazy? I think $30. I think that's the most possible bullish case for XRP by the end of this year, $30.
Man, those guys, the look on their faces. All right, last clip of him.
And that's really not that crazy of a number. If you think about it, that's less than 10 times its previous all-time high in 2017. And if it were not suppressed, if it were to have seen a very similar thing to what Ethereum saw, to where in this cycle it had already peaked out at about 3 times its all-time high.
By the way, it didn't see what Ethereum saw in the cycle because it's been held down by things that, and that's what I'm going to show you next, is a couple of the videos that I've been putting out on Twitter. And it shows you what it reeks of something that's been done intentionally to not have a level playing field. You've had Bitcoin and Ethereum. They have been given this quasi regulatory clarity, while intentionally all the other ones have not, including XRP. You haven't had a level playing field. That's what Ryan Zagone said back in the day. You haven't had a level playing field. I believe that there are forces, political forces, that have been in play, And I think that's, he's sitting here talking about how illogical this is. Yeah, it's illogical because nobody, and this is the reason that it's not so shocking that the SEC would be looking stupid and that they would be losing, is because they don't, everybody sees what's going on, and it doesn't make any sense. And so everybody's staring at it. And like guys like me, we're making videos not because I want Ethereum to do well, I want Bitcoin to do well, I want everybody to do well, but not when you've got people that are where something's obviously going on that's not right, and where it's not like we're going to just ignore the elephant in the room and not tell the truth. All you got to do is watch their own words, which I will show you in a second.
It would have already been at $9 and corrected down to $6 right now. In that case, $30 wouldn't sound, that out of the question. You got to understand, Ripple led 2017. It was the number one, most profitable coin across the board. People put in $100, made six figures at certain points during 2016, 2017. The excitement for Ripple is there. And once again, this is not a comment on how great I think Ripple is. I mean, XRP, it's not ever been something that I absolutely love. But I'm just looking at the common sense behind price suppression against something that's been through a lawsuit, and all of a sudden now all of those worries, all of those concerns, all those people that for years said XRP's they're going to prison. Brad Garlinghouse going to prison, Chris Larson going to prison. When Chad McCaleb's the one that really should be there, by the way, which
whoops.
He was in charge of basically one of the biggest scandals of all time when he passed off Mt. Gox and got off scot-free on that, scot-free on the Ripple legislation, but whatever, that's a different subject. When all of those dark clouds above the head are gone, then a lot of people are going to be thinking, oh, maybe I should invest in this. As the price rises, it's going to get excitement, it gets the media attention. When the IPO news breaks, just think about it. I think it's definitely possible. I think, somewhere between $12 to $30 is definitely a good estimate for this year, as long as we're still in a bull cycle and we're not like fully in a bear market like some people think we are.
All right, so there you go. Now, he's talking about how he can't believe Ripple is winning this lawsuit against the SEC. Well, it's not, to me, it's not in any way, to me, it's completely logical that they're winning. And that's why I put these videos together to illustrate that there's something that stinks. Something's not right. You watch. I don't even have to say anything.
We want people to raise capital, but we want them to do it right. What ICOs do is they take the disclosure light benefits of a private placement and then add to it the public general solicitation and retail investor promise of a secondary market without registering with us. And folks somehow got comfortable that this was new and it was okay, and it was not a security, it was just some other way to raise money.
Now you're about to, he says people somehow got comfortable with it. Well, you're about to see how they got comfortable, because they watched Ethereum do an ICO and he did nothing about it.
I disagree with them.
So it is not new, it is new, but it is not okay, and it is not another way to raise money.
Correct.
I am understanding you to say it is a violation of the law.
Yes.
Leads of Ethercasts here with Vitalik of Ethereum, who has just gone through the first 24 hours of the crowd sale, raising, I believe, more than 3 million USD, which is a pretty good start. And Vitalik, what are your thoughts and feelings at this moment?
It's good. It's good that's finally happening. We've been trying to get a sale launched for about half a year now, and development has been kind of slower than we had hoped because we didn't have that much funding. But that particular phase is over, and hopefully we'll be able to really start accelerating the actual development of the product and get things done in 6 months as we had originally hoped.
So what do you think are the sort of minimum funding requirement that you need to build a platform and stuff?
For Ethereum 1.0, I would say in the $5 to $10 million range.
It seemed like, if I remember correctly from your budget, a whole million of that was allocated for legal. Was that?
So the 1 million is basically a legal contingency fund. So our legal advice had basically told us that, worst case scenario, fully fledged court case would take around $1 million to fight. So we figure it's worth keeping that $1 million just to be safe.
So Jay Clayton is scratching his head as to what, somehow people got comfortable with this funding method, and it's not new and all that. He acts like he's some third-party bystander. And meanwhile, how do you think they got comfortable? They got comfortable because they saw the guys at Ethereum get to do this. Now, you think that's absurd? Watch this. What you're going to watch is the first clip is Joseph Lubin, who's one of the co-founders of Ethereum, and he's going to tell you about that they're not selling anything, and then or they're selling a software product, and then you're going to see his co-founder Vitalik Buterin and what he says they're doing. So it's two completely different worlds. Listen to this.
So first of all, we are not seeking investors. We're not seeking investment. We're not offering securities in any way. We are producing under Swiss law a software product, and we're selling a software product. The product will essentially be a cryptographic fuel that funds operations and computational ops and storage operations on the Ethereum application platform. If businesses want to purchase Ether to use in offering services, if people want to purchase Ether to use in taking advantage of services on the network, then that is what we see as the driver of our economy.
Okay, so I'll talk a bit about the funding model. So we will have a fundraiser for 2 months starting February 1st. It will be available at funds.ethereum.org. So the idea is that part of the initial issuance will be 1,000 Ether for 1 Bitcoin, or up to 2,000 Ether for 1 Bitcoin if you get in early to compensate for the increased risk. So the issuance model is that we will fundraise. Suppose that we hand out X Ether through the fundraiser, then there will be about 0.5x will be pre-mined, and then 0.4x after that will be mined per year forever. So it's this hybrid of the Mastercoin and Ripple model, and the.
So the bottom line is this: BitBoy, he acts shocked that Ripple would be winning this case. I'm not shocked at all, because I've known all of this. I mean, this is it. I live in a common sense world. I live in a world of reasonableness. Well, nothing about this is reasonable. Nothing about doing this for one and this for another. Nothing about that is reasonable. And when it's so unreasonable and it doesn't make any sense, and then to make matters worse, you see some of these guys going off and getting jobs with companies that are specifically involved in Bitcoin and Ethereum. It just looks so freaking bad. So no, it's not shocking to me that Ripple looks to be doing well on this case. It's not shocking at all. It's very reasonable that they would be doing well in this case. So when I hear that, I'm like, where have you guys been? And just as a side note, JP Morgan senior analysts predict that as more blockchain projects embrace proof of stake over proof of work, staking reward opportunities could spur further adoption of cryptocurrencies. And they're talking, I think they were talking about how Ethereum's going over to 2.0, and JP Morgan and Goldman sure seem to love Ethereum. All right, I wanted to show you this. The Uphold is my favorite exchange. I just bought some Stellar the other day on there. I put a link in the description of my video. These guys, they're not really a sponsor. They're one of the affiliates of my channel. But I put a link to them. If you don't have an Uphold account, I was talking to someone just the other day, and they said, well, it was yesterday. I was talking to a dentist. I was at his lake house, and he said, hey, when am I going to be able to sell this XRP? I can't sell my XRP. I said, first of all, I'm not selling any of my XRP, but you are able to sell XRP or buy XRP on Uphold. So I've got a link to this, and he had no idea that he even had the ability to sell it. And so I've got a link in the description of my videos from now on. It's at the top of this video. If you want to go open an Uphold account, this is a great place to buy and sell, and I use it all the time. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that Ripple and the SEC, BitBoy thinks it's about to be over, and that when it is over, it's going to be like a stretched rubber band.